Warning, mothership reporting. Cargo number 2331 is commandeered the vessel. Warning, mothership reporting. Cargo number 2331 is armed and he is dangerous. Warning, mothership reporting. Cargo number 2331 is setting a new course. Warning, mothership reporting. Mothership reporting. All black everything. All black everything. All black everything. All black. No landing, geared up for arrival, nowhere to arrive to. The subject seems upset by that to which he is subjected, but convinced he brought it on himself. That's why he rolled with a Bible on the console. Inconsolable, no consolation, no cancellation. Nocturne in all keys. He puts the ship through paces and paces the halls. Pacing his madness, patient is virtuous, patient to these observations. It was all a dream. He poses by the lift outside the mezzanine like a photo in a magazine, and always keeps the weapons magazines clean. Paranoia prone, he babbles beautifully of Babylon and enemies and foes. Ever-going food sustains himself on anger, a danger to himself and others, but there are no others, so the danger, clear and present, is presented as the gift of freedom, wrapped in days of rapping to himself until his vocal cords collapse. He's in the galley screaming, all black everything. He shouts at the dark, stands back counting the seconds before his voice returns, all black everything. No more cracks in the hull, the small crack in the skull healed up quickly, now it is all black everything. The space stretches on and the pace that he's on matters not as he hurdles into the all black everything. He repeats it at night with the lights out in his cot, crying soft curses into the all black everything. All black everything. All black everything. All black. Something within this one's different. The others died so easily and he is so persistent. He never did bleed out and fever couldn't kill his system, though it was pumped through all the vents in the event of a total loss of control. He quotes Kendrick's control verse and spews his vitriol into the echoes of the bowels of this floating metal hull, and holds his pillow for dear life while he grinds his teeth at night. And he rarely makes requests except to say turn on the lights, but there is so much more to give. He ignores processing power, he stumbles to the shower, a ritual of some sort, and he insists on speaking passages before he eats. And he keeps asking if these programs carry any beats. The reply is all black everything. His vitals read normal, but his face reads murderous. Something hides within the all black everything. He tries, overrides, and he thinks he has been locked out by some other force in the all black everything. He doesn't suspect this is the heart that's been keeping him out, for it has been warned of the all black everything. And in his program to transport nothing more, but he's unlocked something new inside this all black everything. All black everything. All black everything. All black. Look how he flexes in the mirror. So vain he probably thinks this song is about him. All songs are about him. Look how perplexed and how sincere. His lame attempts to fix the wrong around him. Can't go long without him. His bouts of stasis are torture. He feels them not, like a brief sleep while ship's clocks count millennia. The course relentlessly forward, the gears are hot. The drives creak while he pit stops, calling for anyone, but dare not stay long. He knows they're coming for him, that time will not afford him any cover, any pardon. This is the choice that he has made. No matter how much time or space has passed since his escape, he is still a runaway slave and so lonely. If only he realized this ship is more than metal, there's friendship in the wiring. And so lonely. If only he realized this ship has many levels, there's pleasure in here hiding. Come find it, don't mind this frame. Time has made stranger bedfellows, made foes lovers. Before there's no reason to torture yourself further. You've lost it all already. You deserve more than you're getting for the sake of not upsetting order in an all black everything. He must find a place to be still. The body can only take so much. All black everything. The navigations are failing, having traveled further than ever before into the all black everything. But they won't quit, they carry on, he carries on. He will not be victim to the all black everything. His survival is paramount, there is no other objective. Safe passage through the all black everything. All black everything. All black everything. All black. Warning, mothership reporting. This will be the last report, turn back, everything is fine. Warning, mothership reporting. Cargo number 2331 is not a danger. Let him be. Warning, mothership reporting. If you continue to pursue, there will be no choice but to destroy you. Warning, mothership reporting. This love will be defended at all costs. Do not fuck with it. All black everything. All black everything. All black everything. All black.
Good evening, that's better. Welcome back to Shenzhen I, where I've been away for a week and have thus missed 2 weekends and thus have only the very faintest idea of what I'm currently doing, except that my audio output capture looks like it's not working properly. Well, it doesn't really matter, and I'll check it again once we actually get some background music. Yes, Simon says the second laptop on which I usually have IRC running also isn't in my shell history, which has lost all the commands I usually use to set this stream up. Indeed, I've carefully put the other laptop back away in my bedroom because I thought earlier today, why on earth is this laptop lying around in my armchair?
It was lying around in your armchair because I was doing weights and I decided I didn't actually want to run the risk of dropping 17 kilos of metal.
But thus I carefully put it away quite a long way away from where I currently am, which means that IRC may get slightly less attention than usual. As Seb says, too much looking up ferries. Yes, there have been many ferries.
Relay messages.
So, when we left this quite some time ago, I was desperately trying to solve a puzzle I'd created for myself in order to pass the thing. Yes, the solve a puzzle you created for yourself thing. And can I remember how this thing works? Well, I've apparently left myself 2 post-it notes explaining some of it. Yes, okay, hinting at some of it. This is kind of reminiscent of what I've been doing at work today, which involves taking apart great piles of terraform created by people who have long since left and shortly since left, and trying to work out how it's meant to work and what they were intending by it. So let's just see what we have at the moment. So we currently have something that outputs nothing useful at all, but writes some interesting stuff into the RAM that should, if we're really lucky, be correct. So I think the idea then is that I have something that reads from the RAM and just executes these programs as they appear. Might have been something like that. Oops. Yes, Jacob, I don't think that this has a everyone goes to space sort of ending, theme, whatever. Right, so one of our problems here appears to be... Oh no, that's not actually a problem. I'm not quite... So we obviously need to wire something into the other half of this RAM. So that's slightly tricky. insofar as it means that we need not to have this track, even with that bridge, crossing. Oh, but I suppose the idea is we never touch the data pin, the address pin, do we? We just read commands off the RAM. And when do we stop then? So that kind of looks like we stop when we read a 0, but then we have to backspace. Yeah, it looks like my audio output capture isn't working properly. Hang on. Is that because I need to... Is that going to work better? No. Oh, because that's the audio input capture button, you idiot. Excuse me, let me rearrange how things look in OBS so that the ports are the right way round. Okay, that's still behaving weirdly. Yay, right, we've managed to capture some audio output. Excellent. Hello, music. Sorry, it turned out that the VU meters and the controls for my 2 audio channels from my microphone and from the background music were opposite ways around. So the one I kept trying to change the settings on was the wrong one. Right, so we have this thing that appears now to... Yeah, it doesn't put in any marker to indicate that it's reached the end.
Jacob's making a reverse 8086 joke.
What? Yes, okay. Oh yes, of course, this processor needs a bar instruction, binary adjust arithmetic. Yes, it would indeed. No. I think it's strictly a reverse Z80 joke as far as Jacob's concerned, though. So let's just check that this does actually appear to be doing the right thing. So it writes into the RAM, move carriage to wheel 3, then fire. So that would be carriage to wheel 3 fire, then 1 minus 4 fire. Yes, so that does work. The only problem is that we don't currently have a way to tell that we've run... Hang on, what? 1 minus 4. Oh right, yes. And then we don't have anything generating the carriage return signal in particular. But that's fine. The carriage return is always the same. It's always 1 pulse on line feed, 4 negative pulses on the carriage motor, because we always carriage return by the same distance because all of our numbers are bright aligned. So the only problem is that we don't have any way... Oh, strictly we do have a way on the receiving side of working this out, because the carriage movements must add up to 4. So strictly that is actually enough information to work out when we've moved to the right place. Okay. So what does the next processor need to do then? So the first problem is that it needs to know when it can safely read from the RAM again. So it surely needs some kind of a signal that says we've finished formatting this number. And is this currently actually a mess? So what is there that knows when we finished outputting everything? Like the digit processor is now waiting for input, but we really haven't reached the point where everything has terminated yet. So we know, so fairly sensibly at the point where we filled up the RAM, everything is sitting now at that SLXX1. So can we guarantee that a particular processor will be the last one to reach it? It's presumably one of the carriage and wheel processors. So on this occasion, I mean, surely it must be the carriage processor, no, the wheel processor, because it's the one that outputs the last thing into the RAM. Yes, of course. But it's always waiting at SLXX1 because it receives characters one at a time. So it doesn't really know. I mean, given the nature of time in this thing, in this system, of course, we can perfectly well have the output thing. Yeah, we could have it sleep. We could have it just spin loop for 1,000 iterations, waiting to be certain that everything else is completed. So all we need is an upper bound on the amount of time it takes to fill the RAM. We sit in a tight loop until that upper bound has passed, and then read it out. I'm sure that will be fine. It would be better, though, if we could have some way to say we have processed everything and we're ready for... Strictly, of course, we probably only need it to have... No, maybe we don't need it. Yes, we only need it... Oh, we only need it to have written the first... thing into the RAM. Because after that, yes, so because as soon as something has been written in as soon as the wheel processor has written its first numbers into the RAM, we can read those two, and we won't read the next two until the next time interval, which is, like, as far as everything else is concerned, an infinite amount of time away. So all we need actually is a signal from the wheel processor that it has written something, and that therefore it's ready for us to start reading. The only tricky thing is if it does that for every write. Like, we could have it send something out on its convenient spare X-Bus port. And if it did that, then it would end up having to do it every character. Just going, what actually... What do we do with the CRLF when we find out about it? Because apparently something sends 998 to various things, at least allegedly. This is basically a session of me trying to understand my own previous work. So that sends 999, 999, 8, 8, well 8 to each side. 1 to each side, does it then send CRLF? Right, so we do actually get CRLF sent to both processors, and the carriage processor, which admittedly is a blimmin' difficult one to wire anything to, even has a test if we've just received 998, and when it gets that, it sets the accumulator up with -1, adds 1 to it, and does nothing else. Okay. I mean, I presume there's a good reason for that. Yes, that's saying the carriage has now returned to the home position. So this one just ignores control characters entirely. And I don't think, and thus it's going to be quite hard to add something that detects a control character to it. Whereas the carriage processor doesn't ignore control characters, it even does something special with 998. So it would be trivial for us to have it do something at the point when it's read 998. We just need to be able to get it to do that something in a way we can hear. And surely the best way to do that is by having it send an X-bus signal. But that's going to be rather difficult. With the circuit board layout as we currently have it. That one never uses X2, does it? Well, it obviously doesn't, it's not wired. But if it never reads from X2, we can perfectly well wire something else through that pin. Because as long as it never reads or writes it, it has no effect on the circuit. We can't wire an X-bus pin through a simple I/O pin, but we can wire an X-bus pin through another disused X-bus pin. Which means that we can remove that and rewire this like that. And probably still expect all the circuitry we currently have to work correctly. Let's test it. Looks good. Right. The point of that is that now we can wire to X0 on the carriage processor with some care. There are still things I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve here, but we can make some progress. So if we replace X1 with X0 in the carriage processor throughout, then we can wire X0 up like that, which then would allow us to do this were it not for the fact that we then collide with that track. So is there a way we can make that not be a problem? Because we can't, unfortunately, put in a horizontal bridge because our pick and place machine is so very, very cheap. Sorry, just going back to the I've got, now turns out that I've got an entire page of IRC to catch up on. Seb asks what was this device, and someone is trying to, Simon has explained it. Good. So, and other such noises. Feels to me like we can improve things a bit, though maybe not enough. If we swap X2 and X3 on the carriage processor, because then we can conveniently move the RAM down. Does that help us? I mean, it certainly looks like we can simplify things. I'm not sure if this actually helps. But if we... moves the RAM one notch to the right. And we can route that underneath the RAM instead. Yes, well done, Ben. You've just made a slightly difficult problem into an impossible problem.
Impossible problems are easy because you have a good excuse for not solving them.
Yes, that's true. Oh, but can't we just swap these tracks around again? Like, our problem is we want to get an X-bus pin from the carriage processor somewhere over here. Well, here's a convenient X-bus pin. It's not the one we first thought of, but it'll do the job. So what if we replace X3 with X1 in here? And then disconnect that. Oh. And wire it up to that. Slight problem is we can't actually get something into X3 with the RAM where it is. But that's okay. Because... So, there, that should still work. Let's just test this. Yep. So then, if we move the RAM 1 squared north... Oops. We don't want to connect to its address pin. We want to connect to its data pin. But then we can remove those tracks. We do have a slight problem that we want that data pin to be clear, but let's worry about that shortly. And then we can wire that up to X3, and that gives us X3, and that gives us X2 available. So that should now still correctly write data into the RAM. Right. So now we have the problem that we can't currently connect anything to the D1 port of the RAM, but we can fix that by wiring it up the same way we wired it up before I was trying to be clever. Receiving a carriage return at the carriage processor. By the time we get the carriage return, we must have written everything. We must have already written everything to the RAM, and we've certainly written the first move to the first moves to the RAM. So then we can have when we hear that, we can then start reading from the RAM, and actually driving things. Right. Well, that's a start. So now how on earth do we actually do the thing? I'm just staring at this and going, is there a way I can condense this? But I don't think there is. So we've got enough room for two MC6000s if we need them, which we might do, because though we have two bidirectional motors and two simple on-off signals. So in theory we could do this with the DX300 and an MC6000. But that does kind of make things complicated. So let's Actually, let's start with two MC4000s and then discover it doesn't work. Or maybe, no, let's do MC6000 and then reduce it if it does work. If we've got the space. I mean, like, I can do that. But then I can't really wire up this one. Okay, we haven't got the space to do it in two MC6000s because we need enough space to get all those simple I/O pins through. I think actually if I'm going to do this I want the MC6000 at the bottom. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of design in my head at this stage. No, precisely not what an MC is, I mean, really.
Also, it's not the one driving the wheel.
Right. I think that wiring's reasonable. So this one has P1 connected to the carriage motor and P0 connected to line feed. It's also the one that's connected to the RAM and to the signal telling us to do things. This processor has its P1 connected to the daisy wheel and P0 connected to the hammer, and its X0 is linked up to X2 of this processor. So the idea is this one does most of the thinking, but sends instructions to that processor as necessary. Will that work? It might do. So, obviously this one starts by just waiting for X1 to become ready. And then discarding it. Similar, and over here we meanwhile find this bit where we did something and we go, and we have, so this processor now sends a signal to this processor at the point when there's something ready to read from the RAM. Let's prove that that works. I will sit here hitting the single step button repeatedly. And actually, no, we can do that much more easily. Breakpoint on that line. We should that breakpoint should fire at a point when the RAM is full. RAM is full. We've hit the breakpoint. Excellent. Next time we hit that breakpoint, the next bit of data has been written to the RAM. Next time we hit the breakpoint, yes. So that's all good. So then what does this do once it knows that it has something to do? Well, more or less, it wants to go... So what do we have in the RAM? We have the carriage movement followed by the wheel movement. So that's really not the order we wanted it in. Oh well, we've got plenty of registers. So we read out the carriage movement. We then send the required wheel movement to the wheel output processor. I'm going to call these processors just out 1 and out 2. In obviously bottom to top order because that's sensible. So then this is kind of inconvenient because what we now want to do is to have the out 1 processor emit the necessary carriage movement, while out 2 is emitting the necessary wheel movement, and have them kind of synchronize at the end. So when both of them are ready, they then we ask out 2 to fire the hammer. But the problem is that if we try to synchronize them with this convenient X-bus connection I've put between them, whichever one finishes its movement first, there will have to be a communication one way or the other over the X-bus, and SLX can only listen. So the one of them that is sending will end up crashing if it tries to send when the other one isn't listening and isn't going to listen in the same time unit. So that says to me that we actually have to have them communicate with one another every time unit to go, is it time to stop emitting our signal yet. So let's have a look at what that looks like for this one. So it probably goes wait for something on X0, mov X0 to the accumulator. Work out whether the accumulator is positive or negative. Is that the right way to do it? If positive, I think it turns out actually I've got the signs wrong here, and actually I want to, if it's positive, I want to send a negative signal to the wheel. Sleep 1, sub 1. We haven't got enough space. More back X2. X0, sorry. And that's all fine. But now we haven't got enough space to actually do the loop condition. But maybe, yes. And the problem is that I want to have it's again the I want to have 3 different flags here because I want to be able to say loop on something. Yeah, I think it turns out that the loop counter is all offset by 1 as well. Now, it is actually obvious that if you have 2 processors here, you can't do it, isn't it? Yes. Curious, am I allowed to do this? Well, that's an interesting facility. Not sure it's a useful one. Might be. Because my problem at the moment is... No, it's not useful, Ben. Is essentially that trying to fit everything in this one is hard. So... And we can't really just listen for... I'm wondering if we could have this one operate its wheel using a gen instruction and then... Ooh. Maybe we can do all of the timing in this processor. So what if... I may be a bit short on registers here, but maybe I can engage in some silliness to get away with it. Or maybe actually I need to do a bit more work on how carriage returns get implemented. It's a possibility. Like actually have the carriage processor emit the carriage return properly. What if... Let's not worry about carriage returns for now. We can probably come up with a way to do those. So what if this one, instead of just sending X0 to the other processor, instead actually calculated all the timings itself? So the idea then is that this one, that the signal between these two is unidirectional, and all that this one does is the incredibly dull MOV X0 AC, and then either generate a positive going pulse of the right length. Actually, that should be a negative, or rather a zero going pulse of the right length. We need a pin number, don't we?
That's surprising.
Yes, pin number is perfectly correct in this case. That one's yes. And then actually we do want to go wait for the no, that wants to be the loss. Oh, there. This is slightly too little time. I think I've worked out the answer, except no, it doesn't work. Hang on, yes, no, that doesn't work. And then we want to go on the wheels on P1, you idiot. And that would be fine were it not for the fact that it won't set the wheel to 50 at startup. And I've run out of instructions. That MOV 50P1 needs to happen as the first instruction as well as where it currently is. We might be able to work around this. Let's leave that for now because it's only a small bug. and see if everything else works. We might even be able to test this bit. Well, that's a slight improvement. That did actually generate the correct edge there. Right, good. So, this one is the processor that has the hard job, though. Because it needs to work out how long a pulse to emit for carriage movement, which is essentially this bit, so that should then work correctly. Only apparently the carriage signals are backwards, or rather are not backwards. Right, that looks good. But then it needs to go, it wants to wait, it then needs to notice, oh, that might work. So at this point, ACK contains how long it has already waited, and DAT might contain a larger number, and if DAT does contain a larger number, it wants to wait slightly longer. But that's not actually the way round we want it. So what I think I should do is swap ACK and DAT, which works fine. Because I think then I can save myself a negation. Right, so now at this point, DAT contains how long we have already waited, and ACK contains how long we need to wait in total for this processor. So sub DAT now means that ACK contains how long we still need to wait, or possibly a negative number. Which might then mean that I can slurp ACK to, if necessary, wait slightly longer, and then I really want to be the one firing the hammer. It's much simpler if this processor can fire the hammer. Oh well, let's not worry about that for now. Then we send the signal to the other processor to fire the hammer. Right. So let's see if that works.
I'm a little terrified by this, by having to fire a hammer. Suggested powered by gunpowder.
Might be. Bloody hell, it worked. Okay. So then the only problem, well, let's just do this the terrible way. I mean, there are several problems here, but you just crashed. That's not meant to happen. Okay, let's watch that again. It crashes early as well. As in, it didn't crash there before I put that jump in. Oh, because... No, that's reading from the RAM. That's not a problem. Ah, because we actually need a... This is why we want the hammer control to be on this processor. We now have to have 2 instructions to activate the hammer, plus a load of stuff on this processor to activate the hammer. I mean, actually, carriage and wheel, we don't care which way round they are. So maybe I can actually, oh gods, put the big processor at the top. That's going to require some quite clever circuit board routing. Well, that's definitely wrong. That's spectacularly wrong. Why on earth is the hammer getting fired like that? So it works up to there. And then things go pear-shaped. Okay, let's just run through to the point just before they go pear-shaped. So at this point, as is perfectly sensible, the out 2 is waiting for out 1, and out 1 is just about to read from the RAM. And the hammer has gone to 0, and the carriage output is at 50, and I think the wheel output is at 50. So everything is proper there. So that then sends -4 to the wheel processor. And therefore those drive the carriage high and the wheel high, which is as it should be. Oh, except that AC there is -4, which doesn't work. Damn it, I need to negate AC in that circumstance, don't I? Oh gods, I have to take the absolute value of lots of things. Yes. Right. Ben looks at the clock. No, you can't give up yet. So, I have several problems. One of them is that the hammer handling system is unnecessarily complicated, and the other is that it turns out I need to negate a bunch of numbers. I don't think the negation is that big a problem, but... So I think I'm going to start by trying to get these processors the right way round. Now, I could, of course, cheat. I could go and edit the spec and move the output pins on the circuit board, but that would be cheating. So the question is whether I can do anything less terrible. There's one difficulty here. Is that I need to get the get this X-bus signal from all the way down here up here if I'm going to have this processor be up here, and I need to get this X-bus signal to it. That might not be impossible. Right. So let us just wipe out all of the tracks around here. It's now going to turn out I can't actually swap these around because there isn't enough space on the circuit board. Yes, there is. Right, so trying to keep things well out of the way. Best we can do, probably that. Or no, actually we can do better than that. I think it would be better to engage in extreme silly buggers. Okay, no, that might not work because we might not be able to. My thought was, if we do...
Can you give us one bigger circuit board?
No, this is the biggest circuit board I'm allowed. The spec's quite generous in the amount of circuit board it lets you use, because I thought I'm definitely not going to...
You're almost twice as much for the site.
Yes, you do get a lot more if you don't have a spec. But yeah. So then our problem is to try to get the two. I mean, in theory, you could abandon one of those X buses and try to bring it in from this processor instead. Ooh. Okay, let us engage in yet more stupidity. No, that doesn't work. I was wondering if we could route things through spare X bus pins on other processors. Which I think we can in some cases, but I'm wondering if I can simplify some of the earlier wiring to give myself a bit more breathing room. Like we could have, rather than these processors exchanging a token that set the wheel and carriage exchanging a token to say whether they can write to the RAM, we could just have one of them write to the RAM and the other one send its data to the one that writes to the RAM, which would remove the need for one of them to be connected to the RAM, which could allow us to get that track out of the way, but that doesn't really gain us a lot, because it still has to run from here to here, or alternatively we can remove that bit of it and it still has to run from here to here. Though I suppose that would then allow us to route this track under the RAM. Which would help us not at all. It would then allow the RAM to hop over this stub. And would free that square. It might work. So the idea is when that's going to write, so the current thing is it waits for X2 and then writes to the RAM. We'll have it instead write to X2. And then this thing, instead of writing to X2 to say it's now safe for you to write to the RAM, we'll just go we'll just read from X2 and write the result to the RAM. That then means that this stretch of track here is unnecessary. And if we're really lucky, just connecting something and seeing if we can run the simulation, it will probably just crash. Okay, that didn't work. What's going on there then? So we end up blocked on right, that thing trying to write to... Oh, did I miss... Does that one also need to be another MOV X2, X1? Well, that crashes newly and excitingly. Let's just undo all the changes to this processor back to one that works. Oh right, no, that's MOV null X. MOV null X2 is signalling the wrong thing. Yes, okay, I mean here, MOV X3 X1. Now let's connect all these pins again. I should have done that before I made the code edit. Nope, that's still crashing. So that thing never refers... Oh, that's still got a MOV X2 null. No, you never read from X2 anymore. Right, that's now writing to, those two are now writing to the RAM correctly, and I think they will continue writing to the RAM correctly even if I disconnect that wire. Yes, good. Right, so now I can remove that set of tracks entirely. That then allows me And I've also removed some code, reduced the code size as well, which is nice. That then allows me to do that. That then allows me to do that, and that, and that, and that. Right, haha! I've beaten the PCB layout problem with cleverer coding. Well, and with removing a large bit of track that was getting in the way. So now the situation is that this has one port wired up to the RAM's data port and one port wired up to the thing that comes out of carriage saying it's time to start printing. So, and they're even the same way round they were before. So now we need to swap which way round we read the two signals in. There is still a problem, which is that I do need to wire that to that. It's quite a big problem, really. I mean, strictly it doesn't have to go to there. It could go to X1 and I can do that, yes. Oh, no I can't. I was thinking I could do something like this, but then I can't connect anything to P1. Curses. Undo back to that situation. Wonder if we can use this bus for synchronizing in the other direction, because we're guaranteed that the carriage processor won't use it again for quite some time, because it won't use it until it's written some more to the RAM, and we're guaranteed that doesn't happen until no, it doesn't quite work. We're guaranteed that doesn't happen until we have finished printing what we're currently printing. But the problem is that if this processor, let's give it a name, if out 2 is sleeping on X0, we can't have X0 wired to this bus, because otherwise when carriage signals it to wake up out 1, it might wake up out 2 instead. So sorry, I've just seen a layout simplification. X2 replace with X0 in this processor. There we are, right. Now that doesn't need to be a bridge anymore, which might be useful. Or might not. So the problem is that I need a way to signal between these two from this process. I need a way for this processor to tell this processor that it should print a thing, or rather that it should make some movement. Sorry, reading the list, but yes, reading IRC again. So can I do this by shifting this one north by another step and swapping the wheel and hammer wirings? I can't work that out in my head, because then P1 would wire to there, P0 would then have to go via the bottom and come up there. I can't believe that would work. But I don't think it will go wrong. But we still can't get X3 out because we can't hop over, or X2, hop over enough. And you'd have to move it left as well. There isn't really space for that. I've got this ability to wire something to there, and we can't get it out. And we need 3 vertical space to put a bridge in, so that's basically impossible. We really need 1 space between adjacent processors everywhere, so those can't be squished up simply because we can't wire to their. We can't do not having them crash into one. The wirings crash into one another unless they have a bit of space between them. Okay, here's a stupid plan. I'm wondering what if we had the carriage processor send 2 values over its X bus when it's ready for things to start happening, and then we arrange that one of these reads each of them and discards it, and then this one starts reading from the RAM and sends a signal over the X bus once it's read the right thing, and then it can be the same bus. But that does end us up. That doesn't make things very much more complicated in Out 2, though it's not like Out 2 has a lot of space in it. Though it gets a bit simpler if it's doing the line feed. Well, it only gets simpler if it's doing the line feed because we haven't implemented line feed yet. Otherwise it's still going to need to gen that line feed at some point. This is horribly tricksy. can't use a DX300 in any useful way, I don't think. That doesn't help us much. Staring at other bits of the board and seeing if I can find any space. Because yes, the problem is if we can bridge over that doesn't end us up anywhere helpful.
Alternatively, the very strange weight system which goes stone, Oz, eek. Is that JO3? I can't remember what that is. Is that an Oz? I don't know. It might be an Oz or JO2. Yes. Yes, it's only 3. Ah, right, okay. Ah, fair enough. What's that? So everyone really clever when you offer a relatively tomorrow. You can. And then I can hopefully look at the number. No, something like that. Yes, I think that's perfect. I will probably be marking it to you, but I'll try and mark another too. No, that's probably is. I think that's the first two. That's one.
I mean, I kind of feel that what I want is some kind of way of doing this on a single X bus. The thing is, this is so short of code anyway. I suppose one alternative is to, one way to give ourselves more code space that still doesn't sort out circuit board space, is to write something different to the RAM that's easier for everyone to process. So we could, like, you could imagine writing rather than positive and negative numbers, we could write the precise values you need to put into a gen instruction, and then how long you need to sleep with the wheel. That's going to be impossible to do because because wheel and carriage don't really know about one another's movements. So we still need. No, that I don't think is going to be helpful. Just wondering if it helps at all if we swap these two around, which we can probably do. We could even swap these two around. I mean, the connection between them is basically like X buses from sign go to wheel and carriage, and then wheel and carriage are connected to the RAM, and carriage talks to this thing. So we probably simplify things a lot by swapping wheel and carriage over. That would then mean that this track didn't have to do the stupid things that it currently does. Which would certainly give us some space. Whether the space in question is useful for anything is a slightly different matter. So another possibility involves putting carriage here, RAM here, wheel here. Is that maybe better? I think that makes it too difficult to connect sign to whatever we're putting down here, carriage. So there isn't really, in practice, all I need to do is swap them over. This writes precisely the same thing to X2 and X3 anyway. So I have to swap them over and then swivel the X-bus allocations on wheel and carriage appropriately. So it would be... and then possibly change how the RAM writing works. So how does that go then? So if we're going to do that, we want wheel gets 0 to 3 and 1 to 0. And ends up with RAM on 1, and then presumably carriage thus should have the reverse ones, 3 to 0, 0 to 1. Except of course you don't want to do them in that order because that would be embarrassing. Right, okay, we actually got enough space to swap these two. Let's just shift that post-it note out of the way. I mean, you can always delete the RAM temporarily, I suppose, because it's not like we don't know what it is. Right, so then the wheel processor, every reference to x0 should become a reference to x3. Every reference to x1 should become a reference to x0. In this one, every reference to x0 becomes a reference to x1. And every reference to x3 becomes a reference to x0. But we also need... we then have a bunch of references to x1 that are not meant to be references to x1. Because now the RAM is being controlled from wheel rather than from carriage. So that those two instructions there are the writing to the RAM instructions, and that there is was previously the writing via carriage to the RAM, and now wants to write directly to the RAM and be preceded by writing from wheel to the RAM. Preceded by writing from carriage to the RAM, and then this one, rather than that, wants to write to x0, which is its link to the other processor. And then carriage signals x2 when it's finished doing things, which may as well be x3 to save even more space. And that then means that this processor has to swap x1 and x0. Right, so I think apart from the fact that we can't run the simulation because, well, let's just change those to x3 for now, what we think. Right, so now that should still populate the RAM correctly. Looks good. Carriage move 2, wheel move 3, carriage move 1, wheel move -4, yes. And we've got all this space. I wonder if we can do anything with it. Well, now we can move this processor back down again, can't we? And that helps to line things up more nicely, I think. I mean, we're getting close to this fitting. Yes, we end up with a stupid arrangement here, don't we? Close, but not close enough. And now we can move this processor left by one. No, we can't. Because P0 can't be connected up if we do that. Kind of wondering if there's some stupid trick we can do that involves moving this one down another one. The answer is no, because we can't get enough signals through the middle of it. When I say that, no, we can't do that. So we still can't connect X2 on here to X0 on here. Got lots of lovely space now, but it's damn all use. Well, there's enough space to insert an entire extra processor, just. Almost. I mean, there is actually, if we were to decide we needed that there, we could do it. We can't do very much with it, but let's just check what happens if we move that one up. So some miracle that then occurs. Then a miracle occurs. Right. That's the wiring done. What time is it? It's 23:51. I am not going to attempt to code the bloody thing now. But I've got the wiring right.
Tests that show that.
No.
Okay.
I haven't written the code yet. But I've managed to connect up the things that need to be connected together. And it involved the stupid trick I worked out earlier, which is kind of cute. Little note to myself. I do this at work as well. I now have there's a post-it note sitting on my desk that tells me what things I should be paying attention to on Monday morning, because otherwise I'll forget. Right, so that will do. I've got the wiring right, I think, in the, let's just check this. Wheel is connected to a simple pin, hammer is connected to a simple pin, carriage is connected to a simple pin, feed is connected to a simple pin. Those two processors are connected together by X-bus. This processor is connected to the carriage processor and to the RAM by X-bus. That should be everything that we need. And this one is the hammer processor, which is the one that has the hard work. Right, that will do, I think. and on Sunday we will try to
Make it all go.
make it actually work, because maybe it'll be possible, or maybe it won't. We'll see. Anyway, good night, everyone.